Hey there, Danielle Matthews here. I'm coming to you live from Florida. Sorry to be a couple minutes late to book club. If you were on here at noon, you're probably wondering where I was. So hopefully you can find me. Hopefully you're still out there. I had a little bit of just tech stuff going on. And anyway, if you are new to my content, let me just introduce myself for a moment. My name is Danielle Matthews. I help people that are on a healing journey. I help them to heal physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And one of the things that I love to do is cultivate conversation and bring in other master teachers. So right now we're reading The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. And such a good book. Every single Monday, I do a book club. So if you're reading the book, great. If you're not, and you're just kind of dropping into this out of nowhere, hey, Clayton, greetings. You're meant to be here. So every single chapter is sort of standalone. The conversations we have are standalone. And hey there, Joy, Leesburg, Virginia. I love it. Today's conversation is like, oh, this is the ultimate. And what's really funny, hey, Tina, is that I just did a story about this over the weekend and had a lot of comments on it about resistance and non-resistance, actually, is what it's really about. Not resisting life as it's showing up. So this chapter 16 is called The Spiritual Path of Non-Resistance. So let me ask you guys this. For those of you that are here, I know some are going to be joining. I just got a message. Someone said they couldn't find me. Hopefully they see it. I was a little late. Probably my fault. Oh, you have fresh snow, Lou. I'm in a freaking tank top. It was 90 degrees yesterday. I went peach picking. Enjoy the snow. Send a picture. I love the snow. It's so fresh and beautiful. What does it mean to you, the spiritual path? Like if you were to contemplate this, and I always tell people I help them heal physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. What does it mean? Like, what is the spiritual path? When you hear that, what hits your soul? What is the spiritual path for you? Oh, it's a genuine question. I do want a response. Maybe you're like, I don't know. Oh, good, Jane, you made it. I'm glad you found it. Okay. I was a little late today, Jane. It was probably not your fault. Today was my fault. It wasn't live. Clayton says, spiritual path is learning about self with a capital S. Yeah. I love how Mickey says, he says, one should view their spiritual work as learning to live life without stress, problems, fear, or melodrama. Learning to master the mind and all the stuff that the ego likes and to get in touch with your true self, as you said, Clayton. Using life to evolve spiritually is the path. I always say to all my students, guys, life is your playground. Like it is a playground to help you evolve. And you're neither pushing life away nor pulling it towards you. Then you are not creating resistance. You're just simply present in a state of peace. So he's talking about how do we create the state of peace? Lou says yes, no melodrama. Charlotte said, hi, this is my life and I didn't know it. Yep, the way we should live life is the spiritual path, connecting more and more to source, to energy, the real me, clearing some scars to flow more with Shakti. Beautiful. You guys are on it. I love it. So this is one of the biggest ways, right, to find this path. So we tend to resist the flow of life. It's fascinating to watch. Karen says the spiritual path to her is accepting life as it happens. We tend to resist life. Like life shows up and we're like, it could have been this way. It should have been that way. I don't understand why this is going on. That's going on. And we're back and forth and all over the place. And we're resisting what's already here, right? Life already showed up as it showed up. So the fact that you think it should be different, it's fine. You can have an opinion about it, but you're not changing anything. You're just making yourself miserable. So the question that Mickey asks, which I just love, he says, what is it inside of us that even has the ability to resist the reality of life? You watch animals, they kind of flow with life, right? They don't have these opinions about it. Should have been that way. It ought to have been that way. Blah, 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 blah. Like they just accept it. I've been away for 2 weeks, right? My dog, I was getting videos, FaceTiming. My dog was just happy as could be, right? He was just accepting. Mom's not here right now. I came home. Mom's home. He's accepting that mom's home. Our cat, Coco, who many of you know, I talked about him. He disappeared at the beginning of this year. He's not come back. He obviously, I think, passed away. He was like 2 years old. And he was best friends with my dog. And my dog, no resistance to the fact that the cat stopped showing up. He just was like, oh, one day I went to the door and the cat's not there. And for a couple days he looked. And then it was like, oh, okay. And there was just no resistance, right? Total acceptance. Hey there, molecule mama. Hey, Callie. I love on Instagram everyone's handles. On Facebook, I see your names. On Instagram, it's all these crazy handles. Like peanut butter is another one just got on here. I love it. So who is it that has the ability to resist? And what he says, it's the indwelling being. It's the witness, right? We've been talking so much in this book about the witness. This witness has what's called willpower. And it can exert will. He says it exerts the will. It's the will that moves your arms. It's the will that allows you to hold thoughts in your head when you're trying to concentrate on something, like you need to remember a number conversation, right? It's that willpower. He says the power of self, capital S, right, Clayton? When it is concentrated and directed into the physical, mental, or emotional realms, creates a force. And we call that force will. That's what you use when you try to make things happen or not happen. You are not helpless in there. You have the power to affect things, which is great, right? We need to be able to concentrate. We need all these things. Like having willpower is amazing. But where does it go wrong? We assert our will in opposition to the flow of life. If something happens that we don't like, we resist it. And he says, what good is it to resist? Like my dog, I was gone for 2 weeks. My dog didn't resist it. He was like, Mom's gone right now, so I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be happy with my dad. I'm going to eat food, and I'm going to play, and I'm going to do whatever. He could have spent the 2 weeks moping, right? Like some people, oh, so-and-so moved away, they're not here, and I'm sad. And they're creating this inner resistance to what is showing up right now. My dog didn't. He just allowed it. He was in the flow of life. He's like, she'll come back, And if she doesn't, whatever. Coco didn't come back. He's still fine. You have to ask yourself, what good is it doing you to resist the reality that's here? What good is it doing you to resist the political scene, to resist the reality of your workplace, to resist whatever reality is in, your family, kids, loved ones, whatever it might be? We resist all the freaking time. And what we're really resisting is the experience of the event passing through us. We don't want it affecting us inside. We know it is going to make mental and emotional impressions that will not fit with what's already in there. So we have preference about how life should be, how it ought to be, how I want things to happen, how I don't want them to happen. This person should do this, they shouldn't do this. How come they usually do that and now they've done this and it's thrown off my whole day and blah, 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 right? We get into all of this craziness that is within us internally, like limitations, boundaries, stuff that we have set up, and life's just happening. I'm here to tell you, life is neutral. Okay? Life is just unfolding. You're the one with the preference about should be, ought to be, whatever. All right? He says, the initial sensory observation touches our mental and emotional energy pools and creates movements in energy. This is so interesting, how resistance works in your psyche. Pay attention to this. Because if you can understand how your human mind works, it will stop mastering you and you will master it. Understand me. That's why I call my course Inner Management Mastery, because when you learn to manage the inner world, everything else opens up for you. So understand how your inner world is working. These movements of energy pass through the psyche much like physical impact of ripples through water. Amazingly, you actually have the ability to resist these movements of energy. The assertion of willpower can stop the energy transfer, and that's what creates tension. So imagine you drop a rock in a pond, the ripple goes out. What he's saying is the same thing happens. An event moves into our space of awareness, right? It moves into our life, a person, a place, a thing, or whatever, and ripples come. And our willpower says, zoop, like, nope, I don't want to feel that. Can you imagine like trying to stop a ripple in water? That's what we do with our willpower. And of course, because there's energy that was trying to just move through, what happens with the ripple? Eventually, it becomes flat again. It's just passing through. But sometimes an energy event comes through and we're like, oh, heck no. I don't want to feel this. This shouldn't be this way. It ought to be different, blah, 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 blah. The whole story starts and we stop the movement of energy. And he says, this is what causes tension. And recognize this in your own self. Where do you feel it? You feel it in your throat, you feel it in your stomach, your low back, your neck, where you feel it. This is the tension you're creating with your own willpower. And he says you can wear yourself out struggling with the experiences of a single event or even a single thought or emotion, and you all know too well that you do, right? You exhaust yourself. I just did this over the weekend. Like, I'm not perfect. This happens for me too. I got hung up on something and I wouldn't let it go. All right. And it was just like, I was creating so much inner turmoil in myself. My dog's getting upset because he can tell when I'm upset. And it's just like, I know Clayton's like, real talk. It is real talk. This is what it means to be human. Our human nature just gets in the freaking way sometimes. But remember, we only have so much money to spend. You know, I always have this as a reminder to me. I share an intermittent mastery all the time, but our energy, like it costs money to stop something, to say, hey, hold this energy event, not let it come through. And then guys, that energy it circles in on itself. It's not going anywhere, right? That ripple that just wanted to come through and pass through that we're not letting pass through. Now we got to hold it. So we have to spend energy to hold it. And remember, we only have so much money to spend. And if I'm spending it on holding all of this energy within me, that means I don't have as much energy to now go into my body. My prana, my life force is not there. It's not there to heal the body, to restore peace. It's just, this is why you can get sick. Clayton says, I'm in my why right now, needed this good goddess. There you go. There you go. You're here for a reason. All right. So energy can drain in two ways. Think of how much energy is wasted resisting what has already happened. You're actually struggling with yourself, not even with the event. So I was resisting something over the weekend that was in the past, years ago, like 7 years ago, like just a long time ago. And I'm like upset in today's world about this situation. Why? It's just ridiculous. It was hitting up against something inside of me, right? And I didn't like it. So it wasn't coming through. That's my own stuff. What's lovely is the spiritual path is to go, okay, what is that hitting up against? Like, what is that within me? What do I need to clear out of myself? Most people don't have this awareness though, so they just get ticked off and they blame, the person or the situation. It's an energy drain. So that's number one. Number two, he says, contemplate how much energy is wasted resisting what might happen. Since most of the things you think might happen never do, you're just throwing away your energy. Worry, right? That's worry. That's where anxiety comes from. If you're thinking about the future too much, you're worrying. You're wasting energy. You are literally just you're hemorrhaging energy. Okay? You are hemorrhaging money if you are worrying. You don't know what's going to happen, and there's no way for you to know. And if you would just trust that the universe has your back, everything always works out, you're fine. It always has worked out. It always will. Tell your mind to be quiet. You're wasting energy. All right? I'm curious, where do you spend most of your energy? Put a 1 in the chat if you're somebody that it's like the past. You think about the past a lot. I should have done that. Why didn't I do that? Why'd that person treat me that way? Da, 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 da. Or number 2, if you're somebody that's a worrier and like you're in the future and you're often thinking about, okay, well, how am I going to show up and what I'm going to wear? And I don't want to upset this person, or I wonder if we're going to do this. And oh, I wonder if they're still going to have this at that restaurant that I really like, and blah, 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 blah. Are you a 1 or a 2? All right. Joy says she's a 2. She's a worrier and a future person. Yeah, I think I used to be a 1. I used to think about the past a lot. And then after my car accident, I had to just nix that, baby. There was no more of that. And I got a little more nervous about the future. And now I just try to be in the present. Yeah, so Clayton's a 2. Clayton says, well, actually, maybe both. Peanut butter is a 1. Yeah, so I love it. And I love the honesty. Probably half and half, Tina says. Yeah. It's amazing to watch, right? And either way, whatever it is, we all do it. I just did it over the weekend. Having just read this chapter, and I'm like, this is what he's talking about. Why am I doing this right now? What is the thing that I'm really resisting? So, and this is when we can laugh at ourselves, right? This is where we can really laugh at ourselves. When you catch yourself in the moment and you're like, stop spending energy on that. Like, this is such a waste of energy. Just knock it off and like reset yourself. Go take a cold shower, right? Go walk outside in nature. Go play with your dog. Go do something to just reset yourself. But I love this analogy he used. And, oh, you judge your past. Yeah, isn't it amazing? Like, we beat ourselves up. I know. There's sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't like who I used to be. Well, it was part of your evolution. You had to go through that in order to become this version of you. There were certain lessons you had to learn, right? You had to not speak up in some situations so you could learn to find your voice, right? You had to get those situations created to learn that you had a voice. Anyway, just something I'm thinking about in my life, Lou. I don't know what your judgment is on your life, but okay, here's the analogy. He says, yeah, Good job. You're in the present a lot because you catch yourself. And then that's the spiritual path, right? You've been on this journey a little while, Clayton, like as many of us have, and you just catch yourself. Whoop, bring it back. Whoop, come back. Whoop, hey mind, over here, come back. It's a little ADD, right? It finds things. If you assert your will against the energy of an event that has already happened, it's like trying to stop ripples caused by a leaf dropped in a still lake. Anything you do is going to cause more disturbance, not less. When you resist, the energy has no place to go. It gets stuck in your psyche and seriously affects you. It blocks your heart's energy flow. It causes you to feel closed and less vibrant. This is literally what is happening when something is weighing on your mind or when things just get too heavy for you to feel. How amazing is that? So think about trying to stop ripples in the water. If you try to do anything to stop ripples, you're going to make more ripples. Okay? You can't do it. The event has already happened, and so the effect is happening. Cause, effect. An event shows up in your life, you can't stop it. You can't change it. It's already here, and yet we put all of our power into trying to stop it. And what we're doing is we're making more disturbance because now there's something that was trying to flow this way, we're saying no, and all of a sudden there's this inner tension. And then when your willpower really holds it down, well, now you get an energy block. A grunty. If you've taken my course, if you've studied yoga philosophy, you know it. This is what happens. And so we want to just go, okay, let's let that go. And when something hits up against something, usually it's hitting a grunty from your past. Just FYI, it's hitting something from your past. Try to catch it before it hits the pond or let it move through you. You're going to become a clear space that everything can just flow through you. There's no more gunk for it to hit up against. It's not about trying to control life so things don't drop in. It's about going, whatever drops in, I will let it pass through. And if it doesn't pass through, it means something in me is resistant, All right. Hope that makes sense. He says, what we're really resisting is the experience of the event passing through us. We don't want it affecting us. I already read that. Okay. Oh, he talks about this is how stress and burnout happens because we're spending so much energy, trying to hold all this stuff from our past and hold ourselves together that if something happens in the present moment, we flip our, what. We just flip. That's what burnout is. It's just, there's so much stress caught in the system that one more thing is added on and you break. That happened to a lot of people during the pandemic. It was it's way too big of a stressor, they broke. And other people were totally fine because they had let things pass through, right? It depends. It's not life's events that are causing problems or stress. It is your resistance to life's events that is causing this experience. Okay, life is not for you, it's not against you. If you're sitting in traffic, so when I was in Arizona last week. You all know this because you saw. It's a 2-hour drive to the Phoenix airport. So we timed it so I would have an hour and a half. Get there, hour and a half to check in. We're driving. We're getting on. If any of you know, we're merging on to 10, okay, which is going to take us into the airport. It's 10 minutes from the airport. Massive accident. Massive accident has occurred. It's maybe 200 cars in front of us. We can see it. Police are there, whole road shut down. No one's moving. This thing is taking up the entire road. This is a 4-lane road. And we stop and I'm okay, hour and a half to the flight. We're going to be fine. 10 minutes goes by, 20 minutes goes by, 30 minutes goes by, 35 minutes goes by. And I'm oh, okay, maybe we're not going to be fine, right? And it was this funny moment where I'm I can't resist the fact that I'm in traffic. Okay, if I'm resisting the fact that I'm in traffic, is it changing the reality? No. Is it going to get those people cleaning up the accident any faster? No. None of those things could happen, but it would create stress inside of me. And so I knew this because I share this all the time. If you've been in mastery, you know I've shared this with you. I just did with my current students this past weekend. If you are in resistance to traffic, you have no access to peace. So what do you need to do? You just need to accept the fact that you're in it and then see if you can act. So I was okay, I'm in traffic. I might miss my flight. What do I do? Right? What is American Airlines policy? Should I is this the universe telling me that I'm meant to stay here longer? Should I just stay longer? What's happening here? So I was at complete peace. And then what ended up happening was it cleared out. I got to the airport 45 minutes before my flight and thank God for pre-check, ran to my gate and they were boarding my section. So it was totally fine, but I had no stress. And I was kind of laughing at wow, Life is a playground. This is the chance to practice it. But this is the example. Like, you can't resist what's already here. Otherwise, you're just causing stress inside of yourself. You have to accept what's in front of you and then figure out, how do you act? It's not that you're condoning it, that you think it's all right, that it should be that way. No. And this is where people fall flat with spiritual teachings. It's just you're saying to yourself, okay, this is what it is. It's not for me. It's not against me. I don't like it. I don't dislike it. It just is. Now, how can I act? What can I do? From a place that's balanced and peaceful. That's what we're kind of moving towards. All right, that's what we're going for. So, all right. He says, observe the fact that plenty of events make it right through you. Why do certain ones have resistance? And I kind of talked about that. Certain ones have resistance because they're hitting up against something from your past. He says, it's clear that not all of us resist the same things or have the same issues. This is because we don't all have the same preconceived notions of how things should be or how much they should matter to us. It's based on our past experiences. So, where did you get these preconceived notions? My spiritual teacher calls them toxic memory stress disorder. From our past, from our memories, from our upbringing, from all of these places. They get stored in here. From events that we never dealt with, they get stored in there. And then something has the same like scent of something else and you get upset, right? Like you had a partner that cheated on you, and now when your current partner, is outlaid or gets a message and doesn't tell you what it is, or something is weird, you're like, oh, and you get triggered, right? Because of the past. Because you never let that other thing go with that other past relationship. Now you're bringing it into this relationship. Yikes. Yikes. That's what we do. So he says, instead of seeing this and refusing to allow events to run your life, you buy into them, right? Usually we buy into the fact that stuff gets hit inside of us and we react. And he says, what you can do is process. Hang on. Let me read this. I was going to paraphrase. Believing they have real meaning, you put all your heart and soul into either resisting or clinging to them. But in truth, this entire process has no real meaning. It just destroys your life. You are meant to use life to let go of these impressions and the stress that they create. You have to become very conscious. What he's saying is, what I say to all my students, use life as the playground. It's meant to teach you. Things are happening to create the conditions so that you can see what's unfinished inside of you so you can resolve it, right? You can resolve it. For a long time, I had if something happened that I didn't like, I had like a control issue. And so I would react. Like I probably would have reacted to the fact that I was in traffic and going to maybe miss my flight. But because that was a situation where I had no control. But it moved right through me last week because I was like, all right, well, yep, can't control this one, so whatever. But that used to hit resistance, and now it doesn't. Why? Because I've dealt with that seed of like needing to control things. Now I don't need to. Now, I mean, maybe it pops up here and there, but I catch it. I'm like, ooh, there's that thing. Let's get rid of that. All right, we don't need that. So just accept what's in front of you, observe your own reaction, and that's your work, right? Life, your triggers are your teachers. Life is trying to show you, oh, you've got something unfinished here. Like this event should be able to just flow through like the ripples on a lake. Let it flow. And if you're not letting it flow, that's a you problem that we need to figure out. All right. But what's going to require of you is you're going to have to face yourself. You're going to have to face your own fears. You're going to have to face your own desires. And it's a beautiful reward if you're able to do that. It really is. So, let me ask you this. When a person is dealing with their own fears, anxieties, and desires, how much energy is left for dealing with what's actually happening? Not a lot. Like there are some people, like we appreciate good leaders and leadership. There's some people we want to follow because we're just like, man, they've got it together. Like I trust them in a tough situation. They're not going to get pulled off course. Why? Because they've dealt with their own stuff. They're more of a clear vessel. And so when things happen, they're present in the present moment. They're not reacting from their past and having this like, toxic memory like cloud their vision. It's like, no, I'm just going to be here with what is, and I'm going to act accordingly with just neutral emotion. It's impressive. And it's nice to have people in your life that are that way because you can see that it's possible. My boyfriend's really good at that. Life happens and he's like neutral, totally neutral. It's really hard to pull him. I call him Steady Eddie. It's really hard to pull him off because he's very neutral. He's dealt with a lot of his own stuff. It's fascinating. And it's possible for everybody. So, what he says is, if you stop and think about what you're capable of achieving, up to now, your capacities have been constrained by constant inner struggles. All of us. Imagine what would happen if your awareness was free to focus only on the events that are actually taking place. This is how you tap your inner potential. This is how you get there. This is how, when you see people that have they're just fully accelerating, everything's flowing well. Why? Because they've dealt with all the inner stuff. They've managed the inner world. They've got rid of all these blocks so that they're super clear, they're very present, and they can handle life from a very grounded place. And it is amazing to get to that place. And that place is there for you. He says, if you're not trying to make people fit into your preconceived notions of what you like and dislike, you will find that relationships are a lot easier. If you're not so busy judging and resisting people based upon what is blocked inside of you, you will find that they are much easier to get along with, and so are you. This is how you can change relationships. This is how you can change your work life. This is how you can change your life. And you have the willpower to decide to. He says every single thing in this world will look like it's been transformed. This happens because you let go of one situation, and it affects your clarity for other situations. As you start to release your past, that toxic memory stress disorder, all right, you start to get clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer and more and more and more and more and more in the present, and you can handle life more clearly, and things start to unfold. You're connected to a totally different frequency. I mean, it's just amazing. He says the key, though, is just relax and release and deal only with what's left in front of you. Relax and release to the inner turmoil, the inner blah, 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 the mind, because the mind will get chatty. You need to just ignore it, okay? Come back to your center, all right? And so this is the perspective he leaves you with, right? Life is a game. It's a playground. I'm going to read out the last part of this chapter. I just loved it. He said, you truly can reach a state in which you never have any more stress, tension, or problems for the rest of your life. You just have to realize that life is giving you a gift. Oh, I say this all the time. Life is giving you a gift, sometimes in a weird package, so pay attention. But he says, life is giving you a gift, and that gift is the flow of events that takes place between your birth and your death. Everything that's unfolding, the people, the situations, the experiences, all of them are a gift. These events are exciting, they're challenging, and they create tremendous growth. To comfortably handle this flow of life, your heart and mind must be open and expansive enough to encompass reality. The only reason they're not is because you resist. Learn to stop resisting reality, and what used to look like stressful problems will begin to look like the stepping stones of your spiritual journey. Guys, the antidote is in the obstacle. If you start to see goosebumps, yes, Clayton, you're feeling it. If you start to see that everything in life is a gift, it's all coming, it's all packaged in just mysterious ways, usually challenges, challenging people, challenging situations, losses, all this stuff that we don't want to deal with. If you can just look at it, you will find that that's your stepping stone. Can I relax with this? Can I open my heart to this? Can I see what's getting triggered within me? And work on that. Because when I work on my stuff, that energy block, that subconscious block, that low vibration is released. And now you level up your vibration. Things start to just open effortlessly. It's phenomenal. Yeah. It's phenomenal. So, apologies for being a little late today. We are going to read chapter 17 next, Contemplating Death. Oh my. It's the Stoics, right? They have memento mori, like meditate on your death. Remember that you will die. It's important. It makes you take things a lot less intensely. And it humbles you a lot. So next week we'll read chapter 7. If you don't have the book, it's okay. Join us. As you can see, we're just chatting about the concepts. If you've got questions, join us on Telegram. The Telegram chat is there. I think you can just reply to things, and so then we can keep it all, condensed on the chapter that it is. And wonderful. If you got value, share this, guys. People need to hear this information. So share this to your pages, tag a friend, and I will see you next week, and I'll kick off Monday with you next week, apparently contemplating our mortality. Until then, have a great week, everyone.